Welcome back to another Collective Live. I've got two of my great friends, one who's been off traveling the world, the other who has been sitting in a pool and telling great stories online. Jenn, Moretti, Dan, Smokoska, how are you both?
I'm great. Feeling good.
So good.
So before we get into the topic of the day, which is kind of that mid-year reset, and not necessarily just mentally resetting, but strategically resetting, Dan, you and I gotta talk about something. One of our friends online said that once you hit 40, you can't wear a backwards hat anymore. And I'm 41, and I just wanted to know. Are you 40 yet?
No, man. I'm getting close. I'm
okay.
So close, but
when you hit 40, are you turning the hat around?
No way.
Okay.
I think it's like, whoever said that, I'm sure they're a great person. But man, I'm following your lead. You're 41. You're doing it. I'm doing it, man.
I firmly believe that when people say things, you can't wear something when you're something, that's because they don't look good in that something.
Yeah, right? You want to do it more. Yeah,
absolutely. They're like, if someone's like, women shouldn't be wearing that when they're in their 50s. I'm thinking maybe that's because you don't think you can wear that in your 50s. But I know when my wife's 50, she can wear that. You know what I mean? So I'm like, 40 is the new 20. My maturity level is still in my teens. So I'm just going to live my life. But guys, let's get into this reset because you've both been in the mortgage space for more than a day. And we all get into these seasons, and Jenn and I were talking offline about it's summer, right? And what does that mean? And we want to take vacations, which we should. We want to, especially if you live in an area where it's colder than cold for a good portion of the year, or it's dark, it's damp, it's wet, or it's stormy, whatever. It's like, I got to get out in the summer and get some good time off. But we hit this point, at the end of June, and it's kind of a time for reflection back on, the first half of the year. And I just wanted to open up the conversation around how do you operate? How do you both kind of hit that mid-year reset, break, whatever you want to call it? And I'll start with you, Jenn.
Yeah, I would say summer is always crazy for, several reasons, obviously, in the mortgage world and the mortgage industry. Summer is busy season, right? So we are trying to make hay while the sun is shining, but then we're also trying to enjoy our life and have that balance. I have little kids, so we're, on summer breaks and taking vacations and things like that. So how do you balance it all? And I know number one, that it's just been a lifesaver for me is having great people around me to support that. My team and my immediate team obviously plays a huge role in that. But then also other people that you surround yourself with in the community can be an amazing support. So I'd say number one is have that community, have that support. And then diving a little bit into more technical stuff, measure where you're at in the middle of the year. I would say running your numbers and knowing your numbers is huge for any business, right? Any entrepreneur in any industry, really. And if you're not measuring your business consistently, say you're only measuring it once a year, mid-year, you really need to do more of that so that when we do hit mid-year, you can look at what those numbers are, where you've been, where you've come from, and then you can start putting that action plan together on where you're going to. So couple of things that I would say right out of the gates.
Love that. And when it comes to your team, what are you doing differently today than maybe if you are 12, 24, 36 months ago? Because it's like those who have good teams or have had good teams in the past go, yeah, I got to lean on my team in the summer. They're really handling the bulk of this when I'm gone. Are there things that you're doing differently? Like I know for me, I'm like virtual staff only. So other than my co-working space, I have an admin, but I have 4 other staff members. They're all remote out of the country. And so it's very different for me now because they're not even on their summer, right? Versus you. What have you kind of looking back and reflecting? Are there things today when you say that it means something different than it did before? Any tips or tricks or tools? What do you see with that? Because no one can scale on their own. Right. And no one can create balance on their own. I've never met an entrepreneur who's won on their own.
Yeah, I would say definitely from 12 months ago, we had a much bigger group, right? We had excuse me, we had a lot more operations on the back end. We had more salespeople. So we really pared it down in the last 12 months. Our team is fully virtual. So we're across the nation. But I love that about our team because we can hop on and we'll do coffees in the morning. We do Teams meetings. A couple of things that I've specifically done or that have evolved in the last 12 months are letting go, just letting go of more pieces and not being as involved in the process. I used to think that I needed to be right in the thick of things and, talking to everybody, making sure everybody was okay throughout the process. And that is not the case. I speak with the clients on the front end. I speak with them maybe a couple times throughout the process and then at the end, and my team handles everything else, which has freed me up to, do more business and take vacations. And of course, they're there to support me. And on the flip side, like right now, a couple of our team members are out and we're here to support them while they're gone as well. So it's a wonderful system that we have set up. And 12 months ago, I don't think I'd have even been able to think I could do it without the team that we have.
How many trips have you been on in the last 60 days?
In the last 60 days, so I live in Colorado and we basically wait all winter for summer. So I think I've had one weekend since May that we've been at home. So how many trips is that? I don't know.
And you didn't just drive across the state. You went across the world.
Yes. My husband and he had a bucket list trip that he wanted to take. And so this is in April, we took 2.5 weeks in Thailand and Vietnam, and my team handled everything and they were amazing while we were across the world.
Last question. Then I want to hit up Dan on this. Did your business go down, stay the same, increase with you being less involved, less present? Any noticeable difference?
I would say that we have done the same amount of business. It's been steady, so it's been consistent, but we have gotten better at what we're doing. So we do a lot of work around turn times is a big deal for us. We want to be one of the fastest teams in the nation. So we're doing the same amount of business, but we've gotten a whole lot faster. Last year, I believe we were 10.3 days from submitting a loan to clear to close. And now we're down to just over 7 days from submission to CTC. So same amount of business, but we're much more efficient.
So your dollar per hour has actually gone up.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Yep. Yeah, that's cool because a lot of times people put online these, I call them BS stories. Oh, Bob went on vacation and got 27 new deals. And sure, that happens. You go away and you get a lead. Yep. I think what's way more impressive is your stress was probably way down versus where it would have been 12 to 24 months ago. You went on bucket list trips. You've spent all this time with your family. You're radiating because you've had so much, people are better when they're out doing life, having adventure.
Yeah.
And you have this consistency. And I know for me, that was the biggest anxiety I've ever had in business was, am I going to make a closing? Am I going to miss a close? When my team blows up in teams, it's because there's a delay. It's never because oh, my technology doesn't work or, oh man, somebody stole my credit card. It's we missed our CTC and they freak out. And so being 7 days after submission to CTC is killer.
We're super proud of it. We've worked really hard for it, but it's great to step back and my team, just having the confidence in my team that they've got it. It's huge because you're right. I've way less stress and I can have a balanced life, especially with my kids. And that was a huge part of why I do what I do. So I'm very, very thankful for that. Yeah.
I love it. Well, that's actually going to be fun to talk about when we start our Mortgage Bootcamp series. And so we're going to be doing live calls for the public coming up in the fall. And that's going to be I really am excited to dig back in operationally. And how do we cut down our turn times? How do we go from anxious to in control and these different things on a loan by loan basis? So really excited for that. Dan, the man. So you've seen kind of or been involved in all sides of lending. and you now run a couple of successful marketing, I call them almost like brand agencies, but marketing and tech agencies and consulting. What's it been like for you? You hit this mid-year point, kind of where do you sit? How do you, and kind of with what Jenn had talked about, what thoughts do you have going into this?
Yeah. So, you got to, it's really starting to, where Jen's saying, right? It's like, you got to measure. And if you don't measure, you don't know where you are. And so the analogy that I give a lot of times is like, for the year of 2024, I want to climb Mount Everest. Right. And so I have a map. I think I know where I'm going to go, but there's a lot of variables to it that, might happen along the way. And then I need to continue to like check my map. Right. And so I can see the goal, the peak of the mountain, right, the top. But I'm going to start down at base camp and I'm going to, kind of go through this process. And then hopefully at the end, I'm able to make it to my goal. And so a lot of things happen though in the year, right? Storms happen, metaphorically, of course. Storms happen, avalanches, a route that you thought you were going to be able to take might be impassable. And so you got to go find another route to get to the top. And so if you don't stop and examine the things in your business and in your life that are going on, and making sure that you're still tracking towards the summit, then you're gonna have a lot of issues. You're not going to get there by the end of the year. And so for me, it's doing that on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, but it's also doing it at the halfway mark. And so, this is an important time. Halfway there, are we winning? Are we heading in the right direction? And then do we need to maybe adjust our plan and go up a different route? So.
Well, and what you're both saying is what I agree, I totally agree with. There's really no such thing as a mid-year reset. It's a monthly reset. It's a monthly cadence. It's a weekly cadence. It's like performance reviews. If the first time you check your yearly performance is 6 months in, you've got a problem, right? No different than with like trying to work on a loan and getting to day 30 on a deal and trying to solve a problem. It's too late, right? Like you got to solve those problems day one. And so I think that's so true, is having a kind of a cadence where you're self-auditing all the time.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Dan first, and then I'll go to Jenn. Trim, transfer, and trash. So Kyle and I talked about this concept that I learned from a book called Clockwork. And it's a great book for people in mortgage, real estate, just entrepreneurs, anyone. But it's about this concept of, whether you own the company or not, are you an employee or are you the owner? And the owner is able to take vacation and the business keeps going. What Jenn talked about, an employee, they can't, like if they take their foot off the gas, the car stops moving. And I know that for me, and I'll start. And so as we're thinking about that concept, like if the goal, and I would say that everyone would agree that if I could take a company and make $10,000 a month, okay, cool. Then $20,000 a month. I would personally rather have a company that makes $10,000 a month that I have limited to no involvement in than a company where I make $20,000 a month and I work 40 hours, 50 hours a week. Would you guys both agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then the concept being, well, if I work 2 hours a month making 10 grand, I've got all this other time to do that again and again and again. That's the run like clockwork philosophy. That's being the owner, where you design, you build it. There's sweat equity and there's seasons where you're grinding things out, but then you design it and you build it to a point like Jenn described, and you're like, now I can kind of take my hands off the wheel a little bit, to some extent, and things keep going. You still have involvement, but it doesn't have to be 40 hours a week. So with that in mind, to get there, you have to do an exercise, trim, transfer, trash. It's identifying the things that you do day to day, week to week, month to month that are not a good use of your time, not a good use of anyone's time, but maybe not a good use of your time as much as you're doing. And so as I looked at myself, and I do this all the time, I don't do it, I meet with my coach. And so I'm a little bit more seasonal than like doing it every day or every week, because I'm sitting down with a coach and we're going through this. And as I looked at that, there were things I was putting my time into that I trashed. I said, you know what? That thing is making me, And for me, the metric that I would challenge everyone to have is I'm good at it, I enjoy it, and it makes me money. If it doesn't hit all three, I've got to have that on the list of do I just throw it in the dumpster, or do I transfer that skill, that task, that responsibility to a tool, a tech, or a team? And for me, I did that. I sold my insurance company. At an insurance company, it was making me $5,000 to $15,000 a month, caused me a ton of stress, constantly having conflict with my insurance agent, had to go find new insurance agents, was battling with the franchise company that I had signed up with. And so, and I'm a stubborn guy. Most high producing salespeople are. And I was like, I was going to fight it to the bitter end, like keeping that company going, adding more team members. And I finally just one day, the big man upstairs said, let it go. And so I said, I'm going to trash it. And so I sold it. I did it in such a way where I got 3 years of payments per month, covers my mortgage. And it was the biggest blessing. I don't miss it one bit. And so I trashed it. Right now, there's other things where I'm going, man, I need to be doing more marketing. I need to be doing more daily engagement with my team. I need to start recruiting, build my company up. I'm just not doing enough of it. And why is that? Well, I'm in the day-to-day on so many things that are really probably $5 an hour tasks. And I say that because you can go around the world and get incredible staff. Like I'm hiring another remote staff member. I just got off the call this morning, and they'll be based in Egypt or Africa, South Africa, typically. And for English and for for them to be able to understand things. So I'm able to take a lot of the stuff I'm currently doing and give that to them and ensure that's done. That's a transfer technique, right? Then trim is, I need to be doing it, but I need to be doing it better, more efficiently. I need to still be working on it. But like maybe if I trash the things that are causing me stress, I'm not good at, it doesn't make me money, I don't enjoy it, hits one of those three buckets. I transfer things that should be done, but don't necessarily need to be done by me. What's left that I need to do, but I need to be refined, right? And that's like saying, that's like going from a general athlete to an Olympic runner or an Olympic swimmer. To really win at the highest level, you refine your skill set down to a couple of key things that are going to make you the most money. So that's the framework. Dan, with that as the framework, trim, transfer, trash for you. And I'd also love you both to share what you would suggest for people in our industry. Things that generally speaking, you would trash. You'd say, hey, that's not a good use of your time. Things you would just suggest trimming. You should do this, social media maybe, but you don't need to be on here for 4 hours. And what would you transfer to somebody else or a tool?
Yeah.
It's a big question.
Great question. So I'll start with trash. For me, it's like, all right, let's take a look at the software apps that we're using. Because there's just so many.
So many.
I mean, there's so many that are good too. Like, you get excited about and I think this kind of goes to almost the transfer piece, and you got to balance these two. It's like the software can help you transfer some of your tasks or needs, but then does that really move the needle for you and then become more of like a cost without the return on it? And so for me, it's like just taking inventory of the softwares that I have and what do I need to do with that. And so that's something that I've already done this month, kind of getting at the 6-month mark. Which ones am I using? Which ones are actually helping my business? For loan officers, just in the context of what I do and what, really focused on social selling and social media and how to drive business through those efforts, mainly in the platforms of like LinkedIn. But regardless of where, I would say like, hey, there's something you can trash right now. And that's your if you are just sort of just going through the motions of social media and thinking that is going to move the needle for your business, like, there's an opportunity for you to transfer, or there's an opportunity for you to just like trash what you're doing and figure out a better way. And so that, that would be my response. And a lot of times it's like you don't know where to start. And so it's like trying to find those answers initially. And, the collective is an incredible opportunity for those things, because there's so much value within this community that allows you to be able to ask those questions to get those answers. So, right, like you not knowing where to start does not exist in the collective. There's answers everywhere. So for me, it's those things. Transferring for me would be like you. There are a lot of tasks that I don't need to be doing, and it's really making it a priority and taking the time to try to find the right solution for those, whether it's inbox management, whether it's like more of the assistant type opportunities or customer success or whatever those things are. You got to find the right person, and that takes a little bit of time, and you got to manage somebody. And so those things can be a little bit of a headache early on, but put the work in, transfer it correctly. If you're doing social media as a loan officer, like, listen, transfer that if you can afford it to somebody. Transfer your video content. Don't edit videos. Like, go get somebody that can do that for you. There's a ton of different companies that will allow that. There's apps out there. Don't spend all of that time, because you're losing time for other important revenue driving things. And then for, I don't know if I'm supposed to run through all these at the same time.
I want it. Yeah.
So the trim, which is the things that I need to be doing more of, right? So I think there's a couple of pieces. For me, it's, I have when you're talking about running a company or running your business as a loan officer or being excellent in your career, whatever it looks like, there really is no such thing as balance when you are trying to be great at something. Something is going to fall. And so I think that there are a couple things. Jenn did not go on this trip because her life was balanced a year ago. She went on this trip because she put in a bunch of work to get to this point to where she can then enjoy it. And so understand that there is a cost on the front end. And for me, it's like, hey, I need as much energy and stamina and just focus as possible. And for me, I have allowed my health to kind of be like on the back burner, because I'm focusing on bringing in business and driving in revenue and all these things. So for me, it's like, hey, let's get this fixed. Let's get this organized. The trim part for me is like, let me make sure that I am functioning extremely well and I'm alert and I'm at my sharpest for the entire day.
I love that. I just want to emphasize one thing you said at the beginning, then we're going to go to Jenn. It's okay to stop doing things you're currently doing, even if the rest of your competition is still doing that thing. If you're not good at it, you don't enjoy it, it doesn't make you money. And the fourth I forgot that I should have added is it causes you anxiety. If something causes you anxiety, don't do it. Like for me, there's things I'm like, I get really anxious about things. It's like something from my childhood. It's like finger biting, just anxious. You know what I mean? And I'm like, why am I doing that thing? And for example, Dan, you said like, do social media differently. I would even say, and we're social media people, if you aren't good at it, you don't enjoy it, and it doesn't make you money, and there are other things that you do enjoy, you are good at, and could make you a lot more money, go do those things. Now, I would argue that social media is where marketing is and where it's also going. So that wouldn't be a long-term play. But if you're really good at cold calling, you really enjoy cold calling, it doesn't make you anxious, and it does make you money, you should do more of that thing. Maybe do it differently, but you should do more of that thing. And so I think it's really important. I think
that's where the transfer part comes in. Like in my world, to not be on social media is like is a mortal sin.
I know, and you're not wrong.
I would just say, like, go find the person. They're out there. I know a lot of, it costs money, right? And there's different levels. But if you have the money to do it, go do it. Go find somebody who loves it and is passionate about it, and then you reap the benefit.
Yep. Totally. All right, Jen, close us out. Trim, transfer, trash.
Okay, well, I'm gonna start off with the social media thing, because I am terrible at social media and I have handed everything over to Dan. So transfer.
I did not know this when I invited you both to this call. So
So he has been wonderful. His team is amazing, and they have helped me with that, because I was not on social media at all, aside from like my personal life, which is very limited. So I would say that's one big thing that I've personally transferred, is the social media presence, videos, posting, all of those things. Another thing, I'm kind of going out of turn or out of order here, but another thing that I've transferred is the entire middle of my process. I don't handle it anymore. And we discussed a little bit of that before. I transferred everything from when a contract is received all the way to clear to close. I don't do any of it anymore. So that was a big bulk of that transfer that freed up a ton of time for me. I would say, well, let's move on to trash. This list is a little heavy on my side, trashing some things here. For loan officers specifically, do not live and die by interest rates. And the folks that put out interest rate information, there's a lot of them out there every single day. I found that was giving me anxiety, because I would wake up and I would get the text message that we all get in the mornings on what the market's doing. Instant anxiety. So I had to trash that, and have been much happier ever since. And I would encourage loan officers to do the same thing. Don't live or die by rates. Another thing you can trash, we all love this, really shiny software programs that I swear I can accumulate 20 of them in a week. Make sure you go in and clean all of those out, because a lot of them do the same or similar things and they kind of overlap, and you can find one really great program that'll do all of it for you. So definitely clean out your software. And I would say for the focus or trimming, what you're going to focus on, me personally, now that I have freed up time from not doing social media stuff and not in the middle of the process, I have found myself looking for more income streams as a business owner. I want more income streams, more diversity within my business. As a loan officer, a lot of times people, they'll focus only on real estate agents or only on online leads. I think having at least 7 different types of income streams for a mortgage company or for a loan officer, it's going to be hugely important, because then when the market does shift or change or dip or whatever, you still have access to other sources of income within that sphere.
Do you have 7 right now?
No,
okay.
I have 5. Okay, working on the next 2.
Can we have you come back on the Collective Live and just walk through those 5? Because yeah. I'm in lockstep agreement. I don't have 5 in my mortgage business, but I have more than 5 streams of income. And
yes,
I'll tell you what, like, I am so thankful and blessed to have weathered the storm the way I did. Now, to Dan's earlier point, I worked my ass off for several years. Too much, like unhealthy, right? Like, and ask my wife. But I'm now thankful, because I can look back and go, I'm in a position where I can provide for my family at basically the same level I was before. My daughter would have no clue, because of having multiple streams of income. And that is so important. And the mortgage industry, mortgage specific coaching, has done such a disservice not talking more about that. And you don't have to do it on your own. I have apartment syndications I'm in that I do nothing. I do nothing, other than I put money in them. And I get 12, 14% annualized returns. And what a blessing that is for my family. So let's do a call on that. I think that would be super powerful. Guys, closing. It's mid-year. I do want to know, is there anything, any technology, any tool that you're like, I just got on this tool and I'm going to use this tool for the second half of the year? Like, what's something that's exciting you going into the second half of the year? Tool, tactic, anything.
I know for me, we are building out a completely custom CRM that I am super nerding out about right now, and full intentions on using that through the end of the year and further into the future. But yeah, a CRM system is a huge, huge blessing for any entrepreneur industry, even outside of mortgages or real estate. So highly, highly recommend getting a good, robust CRM.
Same. We're building our own white labeled version at Go High Level, and
yes, that's ours too.
We'll talk more. Yeah, and we actually are going to be launching for the collective members an opportunity to get in on that as well, because CRM, and I feel like when you're distracted, that's probably one of the first things you don't focus on, even though it's the first thing you should focus on, and we for years dropped the ball on CRM. So that's awesome. Dan, what about you? Anything that you're like, man, dude, I am like leaning all in on this thing?
It's not new, but LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Everybody, who knows me knows that's the case, but my thing is always get better, right? Like get better every day, get better every month. And so I don't try to pretend like I know everything there is to know about LinkedIn. And there's some really incredible, tools out there. For example, Sales Navigator is just a huge, huge, huge resource. And so creating some of those, like just going even more, just going even deeper into LinkedIn, because that platform, the difference between LinkedIn and the other platforms is that the competition for eyeballs is nowhere near what Instagram and TikTok and those others are. And so there's a lot of opportunity to be seen and to get your message out there for the world. So that's what I'm leaning into even more. And if you're on there and it's something you're trying to do too, come find me and we'll do it together.
Would you be open to doing a class on Sales Navigator?
Absolutely.
Okay, because that would also make a great collective live, because it's like Meta. I've like clicked on it, and that's about, like, I know where it is and I know that it's owned by LinkedIn, but there are so many layers to it and what you can do with it. And I agree with you. I mean, if I was the only hunter in a field, I almost don't care how many deer are there to shoot, versus if I'm one of 7,000 hunters and there's only 7 deer. Like the Meta, like there is so much competition,
so much,
and LinkedIn is just very different. So I love that. It's you're not doing something new, but you're taking new energy into that same thing and leveraging it better. I'll close with something that I think actually touches on a few points. I'm leaning all in on AI, and I'm leaning all in on AI for simple things. I'm not trying to have AI like run my company. And I hear a lot of people like, oh, I'm building this all integrate. I'm like, no, man, for me, I'm having it create a Monday pulse, like market update for my team. I'll also then convert that for referral partners. I'm having it write a blog post every day that has high ranking SEO that I can put on my company website to start generating leads. I'm summarizing things. I'm taking YouTube video links, dropping them in AI, and having AI summarize the entire YouTube, and then converting that into an article. We had AI write out a 30-day challenge. And so the one I'm using that also solves the problem of streamlining my tech stack, it's called Perplexity. And the reason I went with Perplexity is it has intelligent design to where it picks between Claude, ChatGPT, and Sonar, which is the third one. And it does the same thing on imaging. And so I pay for the pro version. It's $20 a month. And it also scrubs the web real time, and it creates responses that are far more intuitive, and they sound like me. And it's just better. Like, I just think it's better than ChatGPT. I think it's better than Claude on its own, because it's both of them and much more. And so I'm actually going to drop a link in the comments. You can get the first month for $10 instead of $20, which, like, if that's your reason why you didn't get it, it's a dumb reason, but why not? For me, having one AI versus 3 platforms or 4 platforms, it's only $20 a platform. I get that, but man, that adds up. and you start to like cut 20 bucks here, cut 20 bucks there. Pretty soon I have $200 for Sales Navigator. Pretty soon I have enough money to like do something really cool for past clients. It does matter. Every dollar does matter. And the problem we had when the market was good is it didn't feel like the dollars and the pennies mattered. So we built things, processes, procedures, hired team members at a price point that only worked in the good market, not in the tough market. And so I'm leaning on AI. We have a free webinar coming up on the 17th with Jonathan Mast. Jonathan Mast actually was offered a emeritus PhD from a university on AI. Like this guy built out a Facebook group around AI from 0 to 130,000 members in under 12 months. He just spoke in Mexico at a 4-day AI conference. Like this is where the propeller head nerds, they're hanging out. They're dominating the space and we're not even like in the room. We're going to be in that room with Jonathan. So if you're in the collective, you're obviously going to get this. We're going to be doing more after that. I'm just giving you guys a little heads up. We're going to be doing a 4-week sprint after that, specifically on AI with Jonathan coaching us, which is going to be awesome. And then we're going to be rolling out a 30-day accountability challenge specifically on AI. Every day you'll get a text with a prompt, with a tip, with a tool to make your AI skills even better because it's so important. So that's coming up in the coming weeks and months. Super excited about that. Guys, thank you for your time. Super valuable. And we just got 2 more collective lives coming up out of this call. So I'm going to reach out to you both.
Let's do
Love
it.
Thanks for having
guys.
us.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.